people of Reddit, have you ever dated a celebrity? If so, how did it go? What's the story? Serious. I went on 2 dates with Emilia Clarke about 5 to 6 years ago. Really witty and really sweet. Things didn't work out between us obviously, but god I wish Ethy did. Did she tame your dragon? Was seeing Hannah Murray Gilly, got or Cassie, Skins for a while around 10 years or so ago. Just when season 2 of Skins came out. Turns out a girl I worked with knew her, I fancied her, and so we orchestrated a meeting between us. She organized a coffee with her, and I just so happened to stumble into the cafe. We hit it off, and we ended up having a little thing for 5 months or so. We went to the cinema, ate and drank. She is highly intelligent, very perceptive and really quite funny. I was young and rubbish at dating, and I'm guessing she wasn't too experienced either. In the end she called me one day after a week of silence and dumped me because she was going to uni. Fair enough. I'm super happy for her and think she's a great actress. My cousin dated Jared Leto like 7ish years ago. They met on a plane, both flying in first. A fake, they hooked up a few times and it fizzled. My brother briefly dated / hung around Hayden Panettiere right after her first Disney movie came out, Tiger Cruise. It was one of my favorites at the time, before Heroes or anything. Apparently she had family who had a lake house in our hometown, and they met at a party and started to hang out when she would visit her family. She even came to the Strawberry Festival with me and my brother, mind you. I'm 10 years younger, so I was like 7 or 8 at the time, and was really nice to me because I was so awestruck to be meeting a Disney actress. She even made a DIY candle with me at a festival booth that I kept for years afterward. Nicest girl he ever introduced me to, second only to his later fiancée. Knew a guy who got fairly close to Amanda Bynes. Not dated but good friends. I just want to say she was a really ducking nice person who probably couldn't handle the sharkiness of Hollywood. I have a newfound disdain for that culture. I always loved her and thought she got a raw deal. She was treated poorly. Child actors generally are. They do well financially, though not as well as the people who manage them, but are taken advantage of in a shocking number of ways. If people knew how terrible Hollywood treated its child actors, it would run out of business. Horrid and morally corrupt industry. My great aunt had an affair with Tim Horton. Edit, my dad has informed me that the aunt and Tim Horton were married at the time. Double indeed. I went on one date with Hannibal Buress. He was in my city briefly after doing a benefit gig elsewhere a few years ago, and we matched on Tinder, met up for a drink before his flight left later that evening. He's a cool dude. I had fun. Did not have sex. Sorry to disappoint. Apparently he's pretty notorious for being on Tinder, so I feel like a lot of people probably have a similar story. Lol. Pretty D-list, but my fiancé went to HS with one of the girls on VH1's Black Ink crew. I guess they hooked up a few times. Adam Sandler went to the same middle school and high school as me at a different time in NH. He dated my 8th grade teacher's daughter for a while before he moved to New York for SNL. He was well liked, and he even called my 8th grade teacher to wish her well on her retirement some 20 years later. Edit, wow, didn't think this would blow up with a lot of fellow NHites sharing stories. To clarify, he dated the daughter of my 8th grade English teacher, who retired from Hillside Middle School. I was in her last class. She spoke very highly of him. He also spoke at my high school's commencement 2 years in a row also, if I recall. It was his nephew and niece's graduating class each year. As a NHite, I only ever hear positive things about Sandler from those who have bumped into him. Like they'll give him gifts, and he'll be genuinely appreciative. Somebody gave him a shirt from the school or charity or something, and he was photographed by the paparazzi wearing it several months later. My friend's grandfather goes to the same gym as him and gets invited to play pickup games with him. My friend's mum dated David Tennant for a year when she was 19 apparently. I'm not sure how true it is because she doesn't talk about it much when questioned, and honestly I would never shut up about it if it was me, but she said he was very funny and sweet. I think the breakup was mutual. Not much of a story really. Can she confirm the nickname Billy Piper gave him? My aunt rejected Mark Wahlberg during high school. My dad kicked him and a friend out of a local theater he managed for smoking weed out back, haha. My aunt rejected Jim Carrey when they were younger. I asked Sarah Gilbert out for coffee. She was doing a stage production at the theater I was working at as a teen in the 90s. I had a huge crush on her and finally worked up the courage to ask her out on the last night of the show run. She said she couldn't let teenage me down nice and gentle. She was very sweet about the whole thing. You being a guy may have had something to do with the rejection. I'm glad she was nice about it, though. And it was kind of a life-changing moment. I had been a painfully shy kid and was starting to come out of my shell a bit. I surprised myself by asking her, and she said that she totally would have, but she was flying out early the next morning, probably just being nice. So after that, every time I questioned asking a girl out or doing something out there, I always thought, hey, a Hollywood actress would have gone out with you if not for an early flight. Even though it was likely a little white lie for her, it was a life-altering moment in retrospect for me. That is the power of a little kind gesture. Well, she may have realized she was lesbian at that point, but didn't want to say it publicly just yet. I remember reading that she realized she was lesbian after dating Johnny Galecki on the set of Rosine. So if this was later in the show's run, that's probably the reason. I dated the guitarist from Taking Back Sunday briefly and was good friends with Steve Buscemi's son through college. I didn't date his son, but my friend did, and my boyfriend at the time was in a band with him, so we would hang out at Steve's house a lot. My HS English teacher went to HS with Bill Nye. He asked her to the prom, and she turned him down because he was a nerd. I hated that teacher. Origin story. This is Bill Nye's equivalent to Uncle Ben dying, or Bruce's parents being shot in an alley. Exactly. If he had gone to the prom with her, we wouldn't have known who Bill Nye was. My aunt dated Tom Selleck. Apparently she liked his brother more. That's all I know. Who could resist that mustache though? Tom Selleck still looks amazing. He is an extremely good looking older man. I dated Dickie Betts many years ago. He was unfailingly thoughtful and kind. He was going through a crazy overindulging in drugs and alcohol phase, but somehow never forgot to make sure I felt safe and taken care of. He assigned me a roadie to make sure I was taken care of while he was on stage. Once he had a bit of a breakdown and started destroying a hotel room. When he saw I was getting worried, he picked me up and carried me to the door of the suite, then called the road manager to come get me. He walked barefoot across broken glass with me in his arms. My dad met Dickie a few years back at a concert. Dad is an old hippie turned into an old biker. He's always been a huge Allman Brothers fan. My mom said he and Dickie just connected, like they'd known each other for years, and ended up exchanging contact information. Dad said he was a solid guy without an ounce of ego. So take this as you will. But a really good friend in college told me she had a date with Jamie Foxx. A date in the sense that they got drinks and had sex. She said he was super nice, but extremely pompous. She said that during he would say shit like, say you wanna suck Jamie Foxx's dick, and would refer to himself in the third person. Edit //. So before this blows up, I want to reiterate that fact that she said Jamie Foxx was extremely nice, and she didn't do anything she didn't want to. Edit 2, fixed from grammar issues. Just hang on, this will go somewhere. My mom claimed to me when I was a kid that she used to always buy pizza for people she really liked. And she told me one time she bought pizza for the entire school football team in high school. She also told me that after a concert she bought pizza for the band Madness. If you don't know, they made that Our House in the Middle of Our Street song and went on a date with the drummer. Then as an adult my mom told me she slept with the drummer from Madness. Everything started piecing itself together in my head. And now I'm worried that buying pizza was a euphemism for sleeping with people, and I'm too scared to ask if my mom slept with the whole football team. I'm not sure if this counts, but for a little, while in my mid-20s, I was dating this girl who seemed to have a near constant flow of money from overseas, where her family lived. At one point, I asked what her parents did for work, and she replied that her father was in politics and her mother was a financial regulator. I did some digging. Turns out they are descendants of the House of Medici. I was playing a lot of Assassin's Creed at the time, so this was enough celebrity and infamy for me. My father-in-law briefly dated Gillian Anderson in high school when she lived in Grand Rapids, and my sister's friend's mom is Callista Flockhart's cousin, and so you know, Harrison Ford. Oh man. Gillian Anderson. That's so cool. She is just ridiculously attractive. My aunt rejected Snoop Dogg during their teens. They went to the same high school. Apparently he was a stoner at the time. Crazy, right? Nate Dogg and Cameron Diaz went to the same school as well. Nate Dogg and Cameron D had to regulate. My friend turned down Jennifer Connelly. In the mid-80s she spent the summers in a small town on Long Island. This was after she was in the Labyrinth, but before the Rocketeer. Parents were friends somehow, so she would hang out with a local circle of friends. One evening she asked him to go on a walk. He said no. He is still made fun of it to this day. She was very nice by all accounts.